Narrator: in the summer of 1950, the world stood on the edge of another global conflict. Just 5 years after World War II ended, a new and dangerous war erupted on the Korean Peninsula. It would become the first major battle of the Cold War, involving powerful nations and leaving millions of lives forever changed. At the end of World War II in 1945, Korea was freed from Japanese occupation, but instead of becoming one united nation, it was divided along the 38th parallel. The Soviet Union controlled the North, while the United States supported the South. Soon, two separate governments were formed. North Korea, backed by the Soviet Union and later China, followed a communist system. South Korea, supported by the United States and the United Nations, became a democratic republic. Tensions continued to rise for years. Then, on June 25, 1950, North Korean forces crossed the border with thousands of soldiers, hundreds of tanks, and heavy artillery. Their goal was simple: to capture South Korea and unite the peninsula under communist rule. The attack was fast and devastating. South Korean forces were overwhelmed, and within days the capital city of Seoul fell into North Korean hands. Thousands of civilians fled their homes as explosions, gunfire, and destruction spread across the country. The United Nations quickly condemned the invasion. Led by the United States, a multinational force from more than a dozen countries entered the war to defend South Korea. Thousands of American soldiers were deployed across the Pacific, joining one of the most difficult conflicts of the 20th century. During the first months of the war, United Nations forces were pushed into a small defensive area known as the Pusan Perimeter. It was their last line of defense. If it fell, all of South Korea could be lost. Despite overwhelming pressure, the defenders held their ground. In September 1950, General Douglas MacArthur launched one of the boldest military operations in modern history, the Inchon Landing. Allied forces landed behind enemy lines, surprising North Korean troops and cutting off their supply routes. The operation was a huge success. Seoul was recaptured, and North Korean forces retreated rapidly. United Nations troops advanced deep into North Korea, moving toward the Chinese border. Many believed the war would soon be over, but another surprise was coming. In late 1950, hundreds of thousands of Chinese soldiers secretly crossed the Yalu River and entered the war. They launched massive attacks against United Nations forces, forcing them into a difficult retreat through freezing mountains and snow-covered battlefields. One of the harshest battles took place at the Chosin Reservoir, where United Nations troops fought in temperatures below -30 degrees Celsius. Soldiers battled not only enemy forces, but also extreme cold, frostbite, and exhaustion. The fighting became a brutal stalemate. For nearly 2 years, both sides fought over hills, trenches, and defensive positions with little change to the front lines. Air battles filled the skies while artillery bombardments shook the mountains. Millions of civilians remained trapped between the two armies, suffering hunger, displacement, and loss. After long and difficult negotiations, an Armistice Agreement was finally signed on July 27, 1953. The fighting stopped, but no official peace treaty was ever signed. The border between North and South Korea remained close to where the war had begun, separated by the heavily fortified Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, which still exists today. The human cost was enormous. More than 3 million people, including